Hey guys, we are here today to talk a little bit about Stan Lee's Comikaze Expo coming up here in the next few weeks over at the Los Angeles Convention Center. So got my program out from last year's event, which I got autographed by Todd McFarlane and Stan Lee, which were definitely highlights of the show. And it's a big time show, right up there with some of the toughest lines out there in terms of the crowds and things like that. So wanted to go over a little bit of kind of previewing it and help people prep a little bit for the show. So first off, if you didn't already know, which you probably do though, but this is LA's big show, and it's really one of California's big shows now. It's right up there with a WonderCon, and right behind San Diego Comic-Con is kind of the big thing for pop culture, for comic people, for all those kind of pursuing that con scene in California and on the West Coast in general. So it's a big time show. Really important to know about Comikaze is that it's very much kind of operates under this notion of it's for the fans by the fans, and so everything they do is really fan-centric, and they really kind of operate under the idea that they are just fans themselves putting this together. So you really feel kind of that grassroots effort, and you can kind of feel that passion behind the show. We went to the first one a couple of years ago, and they were just starting out and trying to put together this big thing, and LA, a lot of shows had failed, and they were definitely set that they weren't going to fall into that pattern. They were out at places like Frankenstein doing a lot of kind of grassroots efforts to reach out to fan community and just keep people excited, which really kind of hits to me on a big point about Comikaze, which is expect a party. I mean, the way I really look at it is last year and the year before is it was just a big party for pop culture enthusiasts and people that kind of love the convention scene. It's not at all stuffy. In fact, it's the furthest thing from it. So expect a party scene, expect a fan scene, and expect it very much to be kind of something that's built from the ground up and not at all of a corporate nature. When they started there on their own, it was just Comikaze Expo, and then last year they teamed up with Stan Lee to make it even bigger and kind of use that bankroll and that those connections to kind of even make a bigger boom. And they went from kind of the basement of the convention center to the full-on main stage up above, and we know that it's going to be the same this year, but we anticipate to even be on a larger scale. So a big time show there. A couple things on logistics. So it's November 1st through the 3rd, so it's a 3-day show starting that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday is 1 to 8, Saturday 9 to 8, and Sunday 9 to 6. So plan on some good long days there. Friday is obviously much more than just a preview night. It's not some 3 to 9 thing or a 5 to 9 type of a thing. It's a full-on day really starting in that at 1 o'clock. So plan that out. Ticket prices are $25 for a day or $60 for the weekend. You can go right on their website and pick those up. They also have an offer right now where you can get a special program online with this from last year that's by Mark Silvestri, and so that's for $70, so something to check out there. But I highly suggest that you go with a 3-day pass. This is a full big show with a lot of things going on and a lot more than just one day's worth of action. I think if you go for one day, just like any big con, it's going to lead to a lot of stress and a lot of rushing around and not having time to do the things that you want to do. This is very much a pop culture show, and so as such, the guest range. You have a Stan Lee or Humberto Ramos or a John Romita Jr., but the other side you have people like Weird Al Yankovic or Louis Anderson or Bruce Campbell, Alyssa Milano. And so we're going to get more into panels in a separate video, and we'll talk about that towards the end of this one. But just one of the things Comikaze has kind of prided themselves on is bringing a eclectic group of people together, and honestly bringing out a lot of people that don't do cons normally. You know, you're not going to see Weird Al Yankovic at many other shows, if any, or Louis Anderson, people like that. So expect different, and expect again that they are really looking at the fan base and saying, what do you guys want, and what's something maybe you're not going to get at a typical Southern California show, and trying to bring that. In that same vein, the panels, they use a main stage, and there's a lot of panel break-off rooms, and we'll get more into that in a separate video. But the Hot Topic main stage is something very unique where they kind of put you right in the center of the action. And so we're going to get more into panels in a separate video. Also, we're going to break things out in a separate video on exclusives, because they've taken a big step forward in the world of exclusives with agreements with people like Funko, Mattel, Toynami, and a variety of others, IDW. Some really cool exclusives, and so many, to be honest, that we need to break that out into its own video as well. One of the things to know, so this is year 3 of Comikaze Expo. Each of the first 2 years, it's been a very different type of show, and what we've seen is that they really they poll the fans, they listen to the fans, and they try to adjust each year to make it kind of that new next thing. So as many awesome tips as we'll have for this year, or from the years past, I anticipate things to be different in terms of how they process tickets, in terms of how they handle lines, in terms of everything, because we saw big changes, and all for the good, from year 1 to 2 in terms of how they handle things. So we'll have more about that and whatever we can offer in those ways. With all of that, you've got to really figure that there's going to be a lot of people there. So if you can park away, you know, if you can take the train in, that's great. If you're going to go down to the convention center, make sure to get there early. Parking's going to be crazy, and not because there's going to be any problems with LA Convention Center, just because it's a huge show. And that's one of the things you have to remember with these cons. What we find a lot of times with those mid to high range, the Wonder Cons of the world and things like that, is people expect things to be nuts at San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con, but all of a sudden they're surprised when it's nuts at Emerald City or Phoenix or a Comikaze Expo. You have to expect it's going to be nuts. It's very possible they're going to get to 100,000 attendees this year, and so as a result you can expect that there's going to be lines. And the thing is the more good a show brings in, obviously the crazier it's going to be. So the same reason it's going to attract so many people, so many unique guests and things like that, is the same reason it's going to be busy and hectic. And so this is only year 3. It's a very young show, but they've made a lot of big moves. I don't think you've seen many shows go from where they were year 1 to year 3 in terms of guests, exclusive agreements, and just the overall magnitude of the show. A few years back when we first started this, I had kind of predicted and gone out on a limb, and you can look it up online, that within 10 years it would rival San Diego Comic-Con, and I think that, if not surpass it. And I think at this point, when we talk about sheer scale of the show, it's way ahead of even what I thought. And so I anticipate it to be a very crowded show, a lot of amazing things there, and that even in year 4 we're going to even see more guests. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a show that's a full 4 days plus a preview night like a San Diego in a few years, but we'll see. For now, year 3, lots of big things going on there. So in the weeks to come here leading up to the show, we will have breakout videos specifically on panels, some thoughts there, one specifically on exclusives, and if there's anything else, you can tweet us or hit the website and let us know if there's other things that you want us to cover. For D23 Expo and San Diego Comic-Con, we had somewhere between 40 to 50 videos on each of those shows. So you can expect we are going to cover Comikaze Expo inside out in the weeks leading up, but even more so as we come into that weekend. So follow on Twitter, obviously, but also watch on the website. We'll have lots of panel coverage on the floor, exclusives, cosplay, everything you can imagine. So keep an eye on the site and expect to see a lot of things here as we go into that November 1st weekend. So until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.